Welcome, good afternoon everybody. So I thought rather than tell you what I do, I'd instead share a few things that I believe. The first thing I believe is that a single individual or a small group of people can really do amazing things. I mean, change the world amazing. And the second thing I believe is that to change the world or to make an idea happen or just to do anything successfully, you've really got to believe you can, and you've got to have a passion for what you do. So my passion is working on things that are either new to world or new to HPE. And that's what I'm lucky enough to go to work and do every day. And making new to world things is something that I'd also like to talk with you about today as well. So tell me, who remembers when they felt like this? You know, as a kid, you really did believe everything was possible. And you didn't doubt yourself. You know, whether that was setting up a lemonade stand or heading out into the weekend to wash cars like I did growing up. Whatever it is, as a kid, you had that can-do attitude and a belief that whatever you put your mind to, you'd be able to succeed at. And then we get older, things change, and more we start to feel like this. Now, I'm sure no one in this room feels like that, but maybe we all have friends that sometimes feel like that, right? So what changed? Well, maybe we didn't have the opportunity to pursue those skills that we were passionate about. Or maybe we didn't have access to the tools and technologies we needed. Maybe we just listened to those people around us who have a habit of telling us why we can't do something or why we shouldn't do something. Maybe we just got busy with other things, family, other social responsibilities. Other things just started taking up some of our time. But of course, that didn't happen to everybody. Here's a couple of my favorites. People who have been able to continue to build bigger and better lemonade stands. But of course, you don't have to be famous or well-known to have made it through to the other side. I'm sure you guys all know people you work with or that you hang out with. They're still able to dream big and make those dreams happen. So what do all of these people have in common? Well, for starters, they're all natural problem solvers. They're all able to see a problem that no one else has seen before, or find an answer that no one else has come up with before. They're constant tinkerers. They're always trying different things. They persevere. If they don't succeed the first time, they'll use that and learn from that and try again until they do succeed. And maybe there's a spark, a little bit of luck, or an uncanny sense of timing, right? Where they just happen to focus on the right problem at the right time. But I think maybe more than all of these things, what all of these people have in common is something I like to call the maker spirit, which is really more of an attitude than anything else, a belief that you can change the world, a belief that if you just keep going for it, you'll find a way through, a belief that really everything is possible. I think one of the things that has changed recently and is also very helpful is that now we have more and more tools and resources and technologies to help us be successful makers. I mean, if you're building IoT solutions, you don't have to build your own hardware necessarily. You can use off-the-shelf tool sets and products and chipsets. You don't have to build your own factories anymore. You can outsource your manufacturing, sites like Alibaba, etc. If you're a small startup, you can use crowdsourcing sites like Kickstarter for funding. You can use Etsy, Amazon, eBay for retail, social media for marketing, and of course we know, and we've heard at the conference this week, there's so many cloud resources available to us today. We have pretty much unlimited access now to compute, storage, and bandwidth. So when I think about this, I really feel it's no accident that with all of these tools and technologies that are becoming available to more and more people, what we're seeing is a parallel rise of a maker culture. I mean, going from your idea to making it happen is really being democratized, because think about it. You no longer have to be rich. You no longer have to have been to the right schools. You no longer have to know the right people. With all of these tools and technologies available to us today, any one of us can be pretty much anything we want. We can be publishers, we can be designers, we can be business owners, we can be manufacturers. Really, everyone can be a maker. And you probably guessed I'm using this term in the broadest sense possible. I don't just mean people who tinker around in their garages with robotics and 3D printing. I mean anyone that has an idea they want to make happen. A goal they want to achieve, a product or a business they want to build. So literally, everybody in this room is a maker by that definition. And I think the other thing that's changed is that with all of this innovation available to us, the question really shifts from like, how do I do something or can I do something, to what do I want to do? As makers, what sort of world do we want to create? So along those lines, I'd just like to play a quick video that talks about the sort of world that we'd like to help create. Cue the video, please.
Running down the street like your hair's on fire, thoughts running fast like a man on a wire. Can't stop laughing, but I don't know why. I don't know why, nobody knows why. Shouldn't wait for the weather to change. Every day from here on out, got the top down, strap on your shoulder, running down you like an ice cream cone. We're not alone, never gonna be alone. Can't help but feel alright. Run through the day till the end of the night. The sun keeps coming up in your blue eyes. These are the best days of our lives. Mind exciting, what's your meaning? Don't understand, but the sea is in me. Music so loud and it keeps repeating, never gonna go home. Can't help but feel alright. Run through the day till the end of the night. The sun keeps coming up in your blue eyes. These are the best days of our lives. Best days of our lives. Best days of our lives. Can't help but feel alright. Run through the day till the end of the night. The sun keeps coming up in your blue eyes. Never gonna be alone. Can't help but feel alright. Run through the day till the end of the night, and the sun keeps coming up in your blue eyes. These are the best days of our lives. The best days of our lives. The best days of our lives.
So there's a couple of things I like about that video. Cooking in the kitchen was fun. But you know, one of the things I like about it is it doesn't paint the future like a science fiction movie where everything's all brand new and clean and shiny. You know, I think the future will really just be an evolution of today, except I sort of hope that technology won't take so much work, that it will work for us. And it's not about more technology for technology's sake. Technology needs to help our lives be better, to help us be more productive, to be more creative, or really just to spend more time with the people we love. And the other thing that you probably noticed, and I'm sure you notice in the world around you, is that our physical and digital worlds are becoming more and more intertwined. The lines between the two really are starting to blur. And at HP, we call that blended reality, the fusing of our physical and digital worlds to provide better experiences for people. And of course, we see this in the world around us, in the devices that we wear, for example, that measure our physical health. And we take that information and we move it to the digital world where we can look at it and use it to make recommendations to changes to our exercise routine or diet, back in the physical world to help us live a healthier life. Or we've heard about the Internet of Things, all the sensing of our environment, taking all of that data, again, moving into the digital world, where we can analyze it, derive insights from it, and then act back on the physical world, whether that be changing the lights or the heating automatically in a room or managing our energy grid. And at HPE, we see a number of technology shifts that are really driving us towards this blended reality. Now, for example, hypermobility, the shift of devices from devices we carry to devices we wear, and soon, let's face it, devices that will become part of us. Or I mentioned the Internet of Things. Technology is now being embedded in the everyday objects and devices around us. Or smart machines. When those devices and things start to use machine learning and artificial intelligence, well, they become smarter. They start to anticipate our needs. And when they sprout legs, grow wings and wheels, we get drones, self-driving cars and robots. But the one I'd like to share with you more about today is something that we call 3D transformation. Now, 3D transformation is a lot more than 3D printing. It's really the reinventing of manufacturing. Everything from how you design a physical part or product through to how you produce it in a factory or even in our home. And on the front end of this process, what we really do need is we need design tools that any one of us can use, that are simple and easy to use, that allow anyone to take a physical object and scan it into the digital world. And then to be able to upload that 3D model, to customize it, to secure it, to share it, to publish it, to sell it, and finally to be able to take the result back into the physical world through 3D printing. So 3D transformation really is an end-to-end process, from that idea you have through to final printed product. And when I talk about easy-to-use tools on the front end, here's what I mean. Play the video, please.
My job can be really stressful. In what little spare time that I have, I like to play music. When I'm playing, everything else melts away. It has a very calming effect. Talking to these kids and having conversations, trying to connect with them, I like to kind of put them in that spot as well, to just let them know that they're going to be all right. A lot of times I just try to find things that I have in common with them. Hey, did you see the latest superhero movie? What'd you think about that? Things that you like to do for fun. Keep them happy and focused on that as opposed to what they're coming into the office for. First thing I discovered on Sprout was a 3D camera. And I was like, this is just so cool. I really wanted to see what I could do with it. I loved watching the computer work, taking the 3D scan of the object. I'd never seen anything like that. The Intel RealSense technology let me capture a 3D scan that you can move around and resize easily. Right now, I'm designing a prototype that could go right on top of a child's cast. Okay, check this out. You're gonna love this. You're gonna be a total superhero. I thought this was a really cool idea because I wanted to make it customizable for him. I think making an idea into something real can help the child forget about their fears. That's a pretty great feeling.
I really like that video. I mean, for me, when you make things easy to use and accessible to everybody, people just come up with use cases like that that you may not have thought of before. So I really love that. All right, well, let's now shift our focus to the back end of the process, the 3D printing part. And I'm sure you've all heard and are aware that HPE last year introduced a new 3D printing technology that we call multi-jet fusion. Now, as well as being a lot faster than what's currently out there, it's also pretty unique in that you can actually manipulate the properties of the materials that you're printing at a near molecular level. Now, we're all familiar with the term pixel, right, in the 2D world? So in the 3D world, the equivalent is called a voxel. It's a volumetric pixel, or a 3D pixel. And using multi-jet fusion, we can actually change the properties of a material at a voxel level. Now, we can also print voxels at 300 million voxels per second and at about a 21 micron pitch accuracy, which is about a quarter of the width of a human hair. And if you put these two things together, you really have the potential to do some pretty amazing things. And one of the things that you can do, as I mentioned, is change the properties. You can change the color of the material at any point. You can change the surface property from smooth to rough, the translucency from opaque to see-through, elasticity from solid to rubbery, or maybe we can even print electronics. And we're also looking into how we can use different materials, plastics today, but looking forward, ceramics and metals as well. And so when you take all of these things together, you really now have manufacturing control at a level you've never had before. When you take these tools on the front end that anybody can use that democratize the design process, and you marry them with technologies like this on the back end that really democratize the manufacturing process. That's why we talk about reinventing manufacturing or 3D transformation. And in fact, you'll be able to create products that you can't manufacture today using traditional means. Fully functional physical objects that can be created using just 3D printing technologies. And so maybe a number of years in the future, makers of the future will be able to create products like this. Roll the video, please.
HP's 3D printing technology enables the world to realize the full potential of 3D printing in fully functional parts. HP functional agents could control texture, friction, strength, elasticity, electrical properties, thermal properties, and more. Imagine a single part with stiffness optimized in some areas, elasticity in others, or wear resistance and friction customized where needed. Or imagine printing a complete electromechanical module in a single 3D build without requiring further assembly. The list of future possibilities seems endless.
But of course, this is just the beginning. I mean, new technologies are being invented all the time. In the world of academia and research, people are already working on something called 4D printing. Who here has ever heard of 4D printing? Not too many. Well, 4D printing uses 3D printing as a base, but it uses smart materials. Materials that can change shape over time. So you print a 3D object or part, and that object or part can then change shape depending on the environment around it or other external triggers. So think of an aeroplane wing, for example, where the curvature can change automatically and dynamically based on the atmospheric pressure, the altitude, fuel efficiency requirements, and other things. 4D printing is coming and on the horizon. Or haptic holography. We all hear about virtual reality and augmented reality, the ability to bring virtual objects into our physical world. But today we can't touch them and feel them, or if we can, only in a very primitive way. Haptic holography is all about allowing us to feel those virtual objects, to touch them, to be able to interact with them. It's amazing the things that are coming on the horizon. So all of the things that we talk about today that are exciting today, it's only the beginning. It's only going to get more exciting moving forward. And which brings me back to this. Back to the lemonade stand. You know, I remember growing up and people would ask me what I wanted to do when I grew up. I still don't know the answer to that question. And I'm sure you all were asked that question too when you were younger, right? And you might have answered an engineer, a nurse, a doctor, an astronaut, a scientist. But you know, as a kid, you didn't question whether you could become an astronaut or a scientist or an engineer or a doctor. Of course, you believed you could. You didn't think about it. And I really do think as adults, we forget that sometimes. But with all of the tools and innovation and technology available to us today, really everything does become possible. And if the technology hasn't been invented yet, it's being invented as we speak. So then the question becomes, what do we want to do with it all? What sort of world do we want to create? And the coolest thing, the thing that I keep remembering, is the future hasn't happened yet. We all get to create it. So I look forward to seeing what all of us do to create the most compelling future possible. Thank you.